Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. It's your brother Quan Walk through the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp. Come with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And this evening, I just want to touch on this Galatians chapter 5 and verse 14, right? Going into uh, loving your neighbor, right? So how do you love your neighbor, right? So as we read, it says, Galatians 5 and verse 14, for all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Now, you go into this word for love. So it says here in the Thayer's Greek lexicon, to have preference for or to wish well to regard the welfare of, right? And the greatest love we can show right now is through teaching, right? Right now, it's other ways, being brotherly, right, or sisterly for you sisters out there. But for you men, the teaching is the greatest love we can give to somebody now, right? And that's true to the true believers, man, right? That's why we're sent out to the highways and byways to teach. That's why we give these video epistles, right? Because teaching is a major form of love, right? And that reminded me of this quote that I came across. It says, teaching is an act of love. And it says, here in the Google AI overview, teaching is an act of love highlights the idea that effective teaching goes beyond the mere transmission of knowledge and involves a deep commitment to the well-being and development of students. And that's how, we look at, each other, right? At you other believers, man, right? We're concerned with your well-being, right? That's why the scriptures talk about, praying for the elect, man, praying without ceasing, because that's our main focus, right? Is to feed the sheep, right? That's how we show our love, right? Both to the body and to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Through our obedience. Because when you go back to that Galatians chapter 5, it's a lot. Let's see if I can get this. Galatians 5 and 14, for the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So the obedience to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right, is fulfilled, right, through teaching, man, right? Now that's not the only aspect, but it's a major facet, right, of this walk, right, of this ministry, Now let's go here. Going back to that. It says here, continuing down the AI overview, it says nurturing relationships, building positive and trusting relationships with students creates a safe and supportive environment where students feel valued and respected, and this is the only thing in your life, right, once you come into this, right, where you have a strong foundation, man, right? Everything else is shaky, everything else is unstable, everything else doesn't offer you the nourishment, right, that this word brings you, man. Everything else is vanity, right? That's why this word is likened unto food, I think let me see if I can find that. More than my necessary food, man. But that's why Yahweh Shai said, "Lovest thou me, then feed my sheep, man." Right? This is the food that's going out, right? This, I'll grab that in there. This is the book of Job. So like, yeah, chapter 23 and verse 12. It reads, "Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips," right? "I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food." And we were commanded to teach, right? That's part of the commandments. That's part of the precepts, right? That we go out and teach, that we do these lessons on, right? The information superhighway, this internet, right? So we esteem the words of Yahweh Bashim Shai more than our necessary food, right? More than this carnal nourishment, right? We're seeking the spiritual nourishment, you know? Let's get that. This is John 21 and 16. Well, we'll start up. John 21 and 15. "And after breakfast, Yahweh Shai asked Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John.'" It's like Simon, son of Jonas. I'll start over in the KJV. This is John 21 and 15. "So when they had dined, Yahweh Shai saith to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these?' He saith unto him, 'Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee.' He said unto him, 'Feed my lambs.' He said unto him again the second time, 'Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me?' He saith unto him, 'Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee.' He said unto him, 'Feed my sheep.' He saith unto him a third time, 'Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me?' Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, 'Lovest thou me?' And he said unto him, 'Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee.' Yahweh Shai said unto him, 'Feed my sheep.'" Right? Now, when you go into this word for feed, right? Just going back to that nourishment, that teaching, right? That love, going back to that loving your neighbor. Let's see. It's feed. Let's see. This is what I want. It says here, um, Strong's G 1006, portraying the duty of a believing teacher, to promote in every way the spiritual warfare or welfare of the members of the church, right? So this is the lot of a teacher, man, is to feed the sheep, right? And ultimately, right, the believers, feed their sheep, whether it be a congregation or their families, man, right? Because we're all teachers, man. All the men of Israel are meant to be, leaders, and to lead, you have to be able to teach. The scriptures talk about
Strong's G 35.
We're not all set up to prophesy or to be prophets, but we all should have the ability to teach. There was one more definition I wanted to get, so like, yeah. Let's see. This is it right here. This is the other word for feed, right? It's Strong's G 4165. To feed, to tend to a flock, to keep sheep, to rule, to govern, right? Going into that leadership, right? It says, because the teachers ultimately are going to be those leaders, right, in the kingdom, right? The prophets are going to be those leaders in the kingdom. It reads, jumping down, to cherish one's body, to serve the body, right? Because we're in service to the body, right? The body of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's what we're indebted to do, is to serve each other, man, right? So in that teaching, we're serving, right? And we're accomplishing the law, right? By, again, loving our neighbor, man. Loving our fellow Israelite, our fellow believer, first and foremost, man. Right? Because the scriptures talk about not casting your pearls before swine. Right? This is speaking on, right, those who believe, not, those who, you go out and, speak to Jake in the world. Right? Because that's not who our focus is on. They hear this through the live teachings, man. Whether the Lord opens their eyes and ears to receive it, man. Right? But our focus is on those who believe. You right? Let's go here. Just going into that preaching. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 1. And we'll start in verse 20. It's 1 Corinthians 1 and 20. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, in the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, the world by wisdom knew not Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It pleased Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. Right? So the foolishness of preaching, the foolishness of teaching Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, of teaching, right, the understanding of the history, the understanding of the prophecies, right, is pleasing to the Lord, man. Right? And going back to that accomplishing the law, because this is loving your neighbor, right, is teaching this word, right? Let's go here. So I'll go to Colossians. It's the book of Colossians chapter 1 and verse 28. We'll start in 27. It reads, to whom Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will make known that is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, right, the Israelite foreigners, which is Hamashiach in you, the hope of glory, whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, right? So this is the warning that's going out, whether the people hear or forbear, right? But it's true love that's being exuded, right, from the body to heal the body, man, right? The scriptures tell you that the whole head is sick and the heart is faint, man, right? That healing is coming through the teaching and preaching of this word, right? The understanding of these prophecies, right? So like it says, this is made known among the Gentiles, right? We're in a Gentile state right now, man, right? We were, and as we came into this truth, and we have our people out there who are in the Gentile state of mind, man, right? So this word is going out to them, right? Whether they hear or forbear, as a warning, right? From the coming judgments and destructions, man, right? As them being taught, right, to live in wisdom, to adjust their lives, right? Going back to that the AI overview, right? That was going into the teaching as an act of love. It says teachers who understand their students, or it says empathy and understanding Teachers who understand their students' challenges and perspectives can provide tailored support and encouragement, right? So we can teach, right, and align the things of the scriptures to what's happening in the real world, man, right? It says, or in your day to day life rather. It says encouraging growth, right? Because growth is a major focus of this ministry, right? It says love in teaching also means encouraging students to grow, learn from mistakes, and strive for their full potential. And what's the scriptures talk about? Striving for the truth until death, right? Let me get this one here. In 2 Timothy. So 2 Timothy 2:5. It says, and if a man also strive for the masteries, yet is he not crowned except he strive lawfully, right? So this is what we're doing. We're striving lawfully for the masteries in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man, right? Let's go back because I made mention of the growth, right? Because we have to grow in Yahweh Shai. Let's see. Let's see. Colossians 2:6 in the NLT, and it reads, and now just as you accepted Hamashiach Yahweh Shai as your Lord, you must continue to follow him. Let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him. Let your faith, then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, right? That teaching, right? Going back to, that true love of a teacher is influencing growth, right? Encouraging growth, right? Requiring growth, and that's what starting with our head apostles and the elder bishops and the elders on down, man. All right, that's what they require of us is to grow, right? And to grow, you have to continue to get rooted in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says, then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness, right? Now let's go back to that. It says, celebrating success, acknowledging and celebrating students' achievements, no matter how small, reinforces their self-worth and motivates them to continue learning, right? And you get your, spiritual victories, right, through overcoming the flesh ultimately, right? But overcoming these different adversities, right, that fortifies your faith, right? That gets you more rooted and more established, man. Right? But it starts with that, having that connection with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Which we're growing in through the teaching of our teachers, right? And you believers, listening to these lessons, man. Right? Right? Us receiving that love, that nourishment, that's that your neighbor showing you that great love, right? Your fellow Israelite, your fellow believer, showing you great love by teaching you these things, right? Giving you the tools to succeed through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, just as he gave us, right, this comforter, right? He sent that comforter down, that word is going out to comfort us as well, man, right? Let's get this here. And then we can close it out. This is Colossians chapter 3 and verse 16. It reads, "Let the word of Hamashiach dwell in you richly, in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another." Right? This is what's happening on a day in, day out basis. Right? His brothers are being taught and admonished, right? Exhorted, edified, right? Being built up, right? These things are happening day in and day out through Yahweh Shai, man, right? The message that Yahweh Shai sent to us, right? Like it says, in all wisdom, right? So these things are being used as teaching tools and admonishment tools, right, to the body. It says psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, right? This is the new song, right? That new song, right, is that healing frequency, right? Singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. It says, "Whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, giving thanks to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and the Father by him." Right? So this is the point, right? Right, that going back to that Galatians 5 and 14. This is how you love your neighbor, right? Or this is an aspect of loving your neighbor, rather. Right? It says, "For the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Right? And part of that love is the teaching, the preaching, man. Right? The sacrifices that go into it. Right? That's true love to your fellow Israelite. Right? So Lord willing, that was edifying through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I want to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechai HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. A Kwam Yasharala and the Bible. Shalom.